Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Hearthstone. So, we got in a big rant last time and we really didn't get very well. We need to get 5 Tavern Brawls and 1 more Warlock victory and then I'll move on to the next thing. We're under a mana storm with this Tavern Brawl, which pretty much just means cards cost random amounts, so that's kind of it. Let's go ahead and cover some of the Blizzard news here. So Blizzard is changing Battle.net to the name Blizzard Tech.
Versus Garrosh.
Now, I don't know why they would call it
Your soul
Blizzard
shall be
Tech.
mine.
I guess that because Battle.net is the matchmaking service and the voice service and the chat service of all of Blizzard's software, I would call it like the Blizzard ID, because to me, from my perspective, my Blizzard ID is like Rydo number 1423. It's down below in the description. And I assume this is going to eventually get changed to mean Blizzard Tech ID. But I kind of wonder if I'm ever going to even bother to change that in the description, because they're just kind of changing the name there, so I guess that really doesn't matter. But name changes are certainly always weird, and when you're trying to label things, it's
the truth is in here.
Job's done.
Oh man, that's the one card I didn't want to lose. It's almost never worth it to change names. Personally, if I was running a business, I'd say we don't change your name until we have at least some significant upgrades and things added to it.
That was an error.
If you can say to me, well, the Battle.net now has better quality audio, or it has more you can type in the text, or we've significantly upheld.
I'll take some of that.
If you can change it from like a 1.0 to a 2.0 through some justifications, if you've overhauled the background, if it's a lot faster, anything you can say there, that's when you should.
I don't have enough mana.
That's when you should just change the name. And I feel like
Show them
that
no
would,
mercy.
that would be the best time to give it a new name. It's like, we've got this new thing and it's replacing Battle.net. We're calling it Blizzard Tech. It does make sense in a lot of ways. Blizzard is the name of the company. At least they're not going full Blizzard Activision here, which technically I guess that's where you'd have it go even further. But Blizzard has always been Blizzard since Warcraft 1, as far as I remember.
An autograph? I suppose.
Deal 2 damage.
Open fire!
Job's done.
So yeah, Blizzard's changed that. There was a Diablo 2 HD site that came up. Unfortunately, Blizzard says it's fake. Now, when you look at Diablo 1 and Diablo 2, I think the inherent problem with playing those games today is just going to be a resolution issue. I don't think anything else is... Oh, darn it. Oh wait, that was one of his cards he was
Back to the office.
destroyed.
Get in line.
Do I have 4 other Minions? Oh, I have to have 6 other minions. Wow. So, yeah, Diablo's issue is just kind of because it's a top-down thing. I think when you get to like Torchlight 2, the camera starts to slowly go from directly pointing down to angling itself more and more towards the horizon, because to give that isometric view to really get closer on the character and still be able to see in a relatively large region of area, so you're not getting attacked by monsters running around you. That I think that's kind of the issues. You can't zoom in enough. Alright, so we got one of those done. Now we need Druid or Hunter victories. We'll try Druid. So, when I think about it, if you put HD skins on Diablo 2, and it's the exact same story, and it's the exact same characters and gameplay and everything,
For Doomhammer,
I'm not sure you'd really notice the difference. As you turn the resolution up, the pixels are going to get smaller unless you zoom in also. And that's where it starts to be this interesting point of view, like draw distance. Like you would, for example, in this game, if I turn the resolution up on this game, which is pretty high already, the text on the cards gets smaller. So it's barely readable here. The only way you fix that then is you have to zoom in more, and if you zoom in more at the higher resolutions, then you cut off the screen. So you're actually going to see less of actual things, and it requires this kind of major overhaul. And they certainly could do it. They could get rid of, in this game, you could get rid of everything except for like this square and zoom in a lot more, and then put this and this up in there a little bit more, and then the cards could hang on to the side. And they certainly have done some of those things in the mobile version. In the mobile version, these side art things, and definitely all this is missing. But HD textures for the actual pictures, I don't think I'd notice if it was really blocky after 10 or 20 years.
Shall we put a kink in their play?
If it was designed for 640 by 480 and everything is just getting blown up, that's it. But then also, the problem with an idea of a the problem with
I'll take some of that.
something like Diablo 2 is they still kind of want Diablo 3 to succeed.
challenge accepted.
They haven't fully given up on that yet. So, in a lot of ways, Diablo 3 is the improvement on Diablo 2, even though Diablo 3 had the stupid auction house, which I think now, at this point, is completely gone. And I think the economy through patches and everything has been balanced fine. I really don't see a reason why you would want to play Diablo 2. And I love Diablo 2. I'm not sure I actually have finished it, oddly enough, but deal 5 damage, draw a card. Let's see.
Summoning portal open.
Tasty.
So Now, what I could be very behind is if they did a Diablo Trilogy remake. Much in the way where the Ezio collection of Assassin's Creed, in fact the first 4 games of Assassin's Creed should have been combined into one just accelerated experience, and you could almost pull it off with BioShock, which is what I'm playing now. It's crashing a little too often, about once every 4 or 5 hours, and that's a big bummer. But if you combine Diablos 1, 2, and 3's story together, made it a much smaller experience. Let's see. See, why does that change just in the middle of playing?
The frost wolves stand ready.
So yeah, some of these trilogy games, if you combine them all together and smooth them out, like Lego Harry Potter years 1 through 7, I don't know if you really have a lot that you should take out of that, as much as you should combine and add a lot to it to make it a better game. So that's probably a bad example in that case. But World of Warcraft itself is also a great example of, like, how in the world can you take those years and years of experience and have a new player experience even an accelerated version of that, to understand the story, to understand the good parts. Like, when we need the, what is that, the yellow books that they use in college, the Cliff Notes book version. We need Cliff Notes versions of games for new players. And there's enough bad in any game where you could certainly find things to take out. Assassin's Creed's a great example of that. There's enough busy work there where if you just took out like almost all the collectibles and only played the story levels and only the important story levels at that part, you would still get a 60-hour game out of it for the first 4 60-hour games easily. Actually, I'm gonna hold on to this and this one. So yeah, but I guess it's nothing wrong with them. If they did want to make an HD game, I certainly, for Diablo 2, I certainly would try it. Let's talk about BioShock. BioShock is buggy in that it crashes. That's the only real thing I've noticed. I've gotten used to the mouse acceleration even on the cursor, so it did feel a little awkward to run around, and frankly the whole game doesn't feel as tight a control as I recall when I played the game the first time, and I imagine that is quite literally because it isn't as tight of control. It's missing tons of features, sure. The 5.1 audio actually probably would have been nice, but I can't record at 5.1, so it wouldn't be useful for me. But it probably would have been good for the game players, because there is a lot of audios, and I did spend at least one section hearing. Now, there was at least 2 times where I was hearing things, and I just didn't know it. There's little audio bugs that repeat because they redid the audio. There's a few visual glitches, maybe 1 or 2 I've seen, with, so just kind of buggy. And I want to just say, Blind Squirrel Games is a terrible name for a company. Just side note, Blind Squirrel Games is the people that ported this, and I imagine Insomniac, which, I mean, Insomniac and Ken Levine, the creator of BioShock, I mean, he's not even really doing anything there. He's got this own little small indie project group because he never wanted to do anything big in the first place. So they gave Blind Squirrel Games the ability, the port job, and I imagine as I'm watching these documentaries inside the game, which is incredibly weird. I started one recording, played for 2 minutes, started a video, and sat there and watched the video and just commented on it for like 10 minutes. 10 minutes of sitting around and not actually playing the game. It was incredibly odd. My other menus +2/+2. 5 wisps.
Killing spree.
So yeah, it's just like Blind Squirrel is a terrible name because it's from the joke, even a blind squirrel gets a nut every now and then. It's like, we're not even claiming like we're gonna try and do quality, we're just gonna assume that even our bad company can get a job. And I don't think they're that bad of a PC port company to really deserve lambasting themselves with that joke. It's just a ridiculous, terrible name. So there is a patch coming. That is the saving grace. By the time I'm done playing BioShock Remastered, the patch will be here, and I'll never get to enjoy it. Almost certainly.
Killing spree.
I'm also very... very much like running in this weird... I'm running out of time to finish that series. I'd like to finish it and have it scheduled before it goes out the air. There are a few Warner Music Group songs getting claimed, which sucks, in some of the music they chose, but not super consistently. And then they're doing a lot of retrospective interviews on sites because of this collection, and it's just really, really strange. It's so many interviews, so many of this. I know BioShock was a huge groundbreaking game, but it actually has some major problems. Trying to introduce RPG elements, it is certainly probably where Borderlands came from, but Borderlands has way more of actual numbers to play around with. The interface is a lot better. The button layout is better. It is really, really rough when we get down to how BioShock 1 works. There's way too many weapons, way too few bullets. Going to gene swap stations to swap your genes makes no sense. Having to buy bullets from bullet machines, and you can't craft them. You can't craft anything unless you go to a U-Event station.
I must protect the wild.
There's just very, very specific spots where it makes almost no sense to have these things in the game. Instead of actually being allowed to play the game, you have to go to specific points to play the game. And then there's way too much hacking in that. Way too much hacking. I wonder if I could take pictures. No, I bet I can't. See, that would have been helpful if you could take pictures of vending machines, do research on them, and eventually not have to hack vending machines through the minigame. That'd be great, because you can take pictures of turrets and sentry bots, and at a certain level you don't actually have to play the hacking minigame. So it does eventually reduce the amount of hacking, but not for the vending machines or the ammo machines or the health machines. So there's still a lot of this pipe game you're playing. Sometimes the pipe game is not even fair and you will lose regardless. Let's move on though, because I'll have more to say about Bioshock later as I finish it. Here's an interesting thing. Elite Dangerous is dropping Win32 and DirectX 10 support. That's cool. So they said basically Win32 is the 32-bit version of the program. Only 5% of the people have ever even launched that, because I assume it runs into 64-bit. The main difference between the 32-bit and the 64-bit thing is how much RAM it can use. Yeah, the program is pretty much, if it's a 32-bit thing, it's limited, I think, to 2 gigabytes of RAM. If it's 64-bit, it's limited to ridiculous amounts of RAM. I don't even know. I think it's somewhere around 4 petabytes of RAM, which I have 32 gigabytes, so nowhere close to that. A petabyte, I believe, is 1,000 terabytes. So you're talking thousands and thousands more RAM than you could actually probably put in a computer.
I'll take him out.
So now removing DirectX 10 support is interesting, because I had to really research it and see, is that because they are only going back to DirectX 9, or is it because they're going to DirectX 11? Because you could still, in my mind at least, go either way with that. You could say, well, DirectX 9 works fine, so we'll just not bother to program on this second API. Or you could say, well, DirectX 11 is better than 10, so we'll instead do that. And turns out that it for them was DirectX 11, which is cool. Now that moves me nicely into me playing around and wasting time, which I don't have time to do this. I got the 3D Mark demo on Steam, which oddly, if you download the 3D Mark demo from some of their other locations, it didn't install and run the same way. So it was putting the window off in the wrong place.
Well fought. I concede.
Which is definitely strange. So now I guess I'll go ahead and we'll stop playing Tavern Brawls and we'll play some ranked play and hope we can win. Where's Druid? Standard Druid ranked play. We're almost to the end of the month and I have not gotten anywhere on any of the ranked play. So I installed the 3D Mark demo, which is free, but kind of hard to find on Steam. And I ran their DirectX 10
Your soul shall be mine.
which shows you this video. In the demo, you can't turn it off, unfortunately, called Time Bandit. And then it runs 2 tests on your GPU. And it runs a test on your CPU. Because, oddly, your computer almost certainly uses partially some of your, it tries to use up all of your GPU to make all of the frames, but when it can't, it asks the CPU to make some of the frames. Now on Time Bandit DirectX 12 with my GTX 970, it was running at a higher resolution than 1080p. It was like 1440p, I believe. And I could not change that because all the options are locked behind actually paying, which sucks. And because of that, I was getting on average 20-21 frames per second. On the first GPU's test, about 1 frame more than the second GPU. And on the CPU test, yeah, it was about 21 frames again. Now, the reason why I was running this test is because I wanted
with me, friend.
to see if perhaps my CPU was more powerful than what I needed. Because I saw this test somewhere, and I don't remember which program it was, that tells you the theoretical frames your CPU could actually make. And that's what I was interested in, is would the CPU test say you could make 60 frames per second on a if you had a bigger video card. Sadly, it seems like at what I'm seeing, it's equal in all measures. So it seems very much that my 970 and my i7 whatever model, I think it's a 50 something series, 5000 series, i7 CPU, it looks like they're about even. So maybe, I doubt it, and I wouldn't immediately act this way, but maybe it would come about with, even if I got a 1080 GTX, maybe the graphics wouldn't really go up that well. I severely doubt that's the case, though. I seriously doubt that's the case. It kind of is the hope, but then also this is a DirectX 12 test, and I think maybe the 970 is not really set up for DirectX 12. And it's at 1440p, which I'm not going to 1440p anytime soon. Sorry, but I would much rather just get this 1080p running well on almost everything.
Challenge accepted.
We will always have the weird outliers like Resident Evil 4 that don't run at all. I actually installed that and turned off vertical sync to see if it would run a little bit smoother, and if it did, it still didn't run smoother. I mean, there's still too much hitchiness. So that was a nightmare. So you can also, I think there's it's called Fire and Ice. There's a test called, I believe, Fire and Ice. That is for DirectX 11, and I think I was able to send it down to 1080p because that's what I was trying to get. And Fire and Ice as a GPU test, not too bad. We're running 60 frames per second pretty much. Sometimes it might get down to 50, 51. Certainly if I could if I can improve a little bit more on that would be nice, but
Done.
But overall, it's doing 60 frames per second, and that's all I really want. If I get a 1080p and I'm doing 70, 80 frames per second on brand new games, that's good. That just means as I make new games, that frame rate can slowly lower itself a little bit with every new game, and until it hits a point where it's no longer acceptable. I would hope would be a long time from now. But
for the wild,
we are kind of in this weird position where I'm not really satisfied with my 970. I want to get up to a 1080 or a Titan X Pascal if I could afford it. That's if I could afford it. Speaking of affording things, technically, there was some tax stuff that they wanted to fill out before AdSense would pay me through YouTube. But I cleared that up. I actually got an email from them that said, watch your account, you're actually going to get money. 2 years in, actually going to get paid. Let's see, deal 5, 2 damage to all enemy minions. This.
Sick 'em.
So I have yet to receive money, but it actually, YouTube claims they're gonna pay me. So I'm officially employed as a YouTuber at this point. When will I make that $100 minimum again to get more money? Hopefully it's not even 6 months from now. Ideally, it would be in a month. 6 months might be a good thing. If it's another 2 years, that's not very good. $200 in 4 years is not worth it. But I am in that very weird position, so in which I can't just go out and get another job, at least not right now, because I'm just taking care of a disabled family member. So this is the best I can do, and at least I'm able to do something that I still kind of love despite all the craziness that seems to keep happening. We need one more victory and we'll get that in the next recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment if you want to, and watch every second of my videos. All of that helps out. If you want to support me further, you can click on my name Rydo. On the right will be a blue button that says support this channel. You can click that and make a donation. As far as I know, no one has ever taken me up on that offer, and that's certainly understandable, but if somebody does want to, that is very much appreciated. And finally, down below in the description box, links to all my social media sites. Maybe someday I'll change the battle.net link there to say Blizzard Tech, but right now I'm just going to leave it as battle.net. And for my old videos, almost certainly going to leave it as battle.net. But yes, links to all my social media sites. Friend and follow me on all of those, that's helpful too. Thank you for watching, have a good evening.